right, let's see if we can get a little further in Chapter 15. Anybody got the... Yes, if you would just start that back way. Okay, so the visceral response, all right, which we'll look at a little bit further. And now it's going to kind of get to be, it's going to get a little like, whoa, wait a minute, what? But the reason for that is I'm going to try to show you how the pathway comes following that spinal nerve. Okay? And then we'll look at what areas of the brain and the spinal cord are going to serve which division. Okay? So, note, the ANS has components. What do you think they mean by components? I know, it sounds like a stereo system, right? Okay, let's think back, all right, to this. And do you remember how we said, okay, the ganglia were an area of dense nerve cell body. Fibers were an axon. Those are what they're calling components. Okay? So, just like when we talked about in the brain and the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system, we're still going to look at the parts of the axon. So, let's sort of think about what this is telling us. Okay, so control nuclei in the hypothalamus and other brain stem regions. Let's kind of take a peek at this. All right, so I know it kind of looks like a bad kidney bean, all right, but I'm trying to represent my cerebrum, all right. Then we got that little area for the cerebellum, all right, and then we had the area making up the brain stem, the midbrain pons, the medulla, okay. And do you remember how we had that little green pea thing that hung off of it, the pituitary gland? And connected to that was this shape. It had like the shape of a W at the bottom. Do you happen to remember that this was referring to my hypothalamus? Is everybody with me so far? It has now told me right here, control nuclei. What did the term nuclei represent? Nerve cell bodies. And then other brain stem regions. Is everybody kind of following me on what I've just described? Okay? So, that's telling me that I'm going to have these areas of nerve cell bodies for control in these areas of my body. If that is only representing the nerve cell body, I still have to deal with an axon, the fiber. Is everybody following me? So, motor neurons, you guys remember those? Motor meaning did something, okay? We're going to have motor neurons in the spinal cord and peripheral ganglia. What did you say ganglia were? An area of dense nerve cell body. Okay, I've just told you. Control nuclei, where they're found. I've mentioned the motor neurons in the spinal cord because it has to pass by way of spinal nerve. Okay? And then I'm going to have what's called peripheral ganglia. This is kind of heavy. All right? I don't really want to walk around to each table. Can everybody come up here with me? Okay. Let's think about information that was just given to us. All right? So it's telling me that in the hypothalamus and in areas of my brain stem, I have control. The A and F is motor function. So information would need to travel down. Is everybody with me? And it has to exit by way of a spinal nerve. But note, it exits to peripheral ganglia. Remember how I kept trying to show this right here? Nerves are represented in yellow. And then it looks like it's got this little pink bump attached to it. Okay? What's a ganglia? If you think about like a ganglion on your cyst, it's like this huge bump, okay? And for our purposes, huge bump. Does everybody see that? Nerve cell body. So I had to exit by way of the spinal nerve and to ganglia. Is everybody with me so far? Alright? Because if I have to exit that way, the fibers are going somewhere. So, I'm going to also find that the nerve fibers will travel through, do you guys remember? The cranial nerves. What were they? 12 of them. All right? Oh, you don't have to name them, Marlisha, but good job on wanting to. Love that. Okay? Love that. So, if we kind of contrast what we know at this point, all right? Somatic, body. This was the stuff that we talked about being served by those spinal nerves. The autonomic pathway. Do you guys remember the neurons, like first, second, third, that sort of thing? Okay? Well, we're going to have for the autonomic 2 neurons that are going to be involved. Going to have to cross a synapse, and they're going to meet in that ganglion, which means the area of the nerve cell bodies. We say, because it is two neurons, there's always one that is pre-synaptic and one that is post. Pre would lead to the ganglion, post would go to the organ. Does that make sense? All right. Now, this is the difference from what we see. In the somatic pathway, very simple. Just simply like bada bing, bada boom, to skeletal muscle, we're done. All right? The autonomic pathway, the part that I tried to show you, running along the side with the bump was the ganglion. Okay? In that area are the nerve cell bodies. So if in the control areas, which are what? Where are the control nuclei found? My hypothalamus, my brainstem. And they send information down the spinal cord and then send out the motor response. It's going to leave by way of the spinal nerve. It makes it to the ganglion, which I tried to show you as the pink bumps. From this area to this ganglion. That is my pre-ganglionic, because it's going to the ganglion. It will synapse on my post-ganglionic fiber, which leads to my target organ. So, 1, 2 neurons it's considered to have. My presynaptic, my postsynaptic, based upon the ganglia.
Is the pre-ganglion fiber doing the same thing as the presynaptic neuron?
Yes. Preganglionic, presynaptic. So, what are the pathways that we get? Autonomic, effectors, glands, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle. Our control for the autonomic, involuntary, nerve endings, they kind of like have these varicosities that get formed. Efferent pathway, my fibers, okay? Now, look at this right here. Neurotransmitters. Remember, the only product a cell can make is its protein. In the case of nerve cells, that product is termed neurotransmitters. We have lots of different ones. In skeletal muscle, the neurotransmitter was strictly acetylcholine. Everybody remember that, ACH. Now, the major players for the autonomic nervous system, once again, we're going to have some acetylcholine, but we're going to have a major player be norepinephrine. Haven't heard of that one. What is it? Norepinephrine